Hi everyone, welcome back to Music119. Today we're going to get into Module 5C and the topic is spicing it up, the magic of seventh chords. We're mainly going to learn how to build and identify seventh chords. So before we talk about what a seventh chord is, I'd like you to listen to these two examples and compare them. So the first example, alright, everybody knows this song. This is Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars. And I am basically playing the melody in my right hand, and with my left hand, I'm just playing some very simple chordal accompaniment. Now let's listen to the second example. Alright, I am still playing a simple melody in my right hand, but with my left hand, even though I'm playing, a very similar kind of chordal accompaniment, you will realize that, okay, there is something a bit different in the feel. And it sounds a little more melancholic in some ways. It sounds almost Christmas-like when you listen to, some Christmas songs. There is always that kind of warm quality to it. And it's kind of hard to define what it is. And that is actually the magic of the seventh chords. So what I did in my left hand was, instead of playing simple triads like C, E, G, I'm adding one extra note, the B on top of that chord. And when you hear this together, it sounds quite different from, which sounds a lot cleaner in some ways. But the point is that seventh chords can give you a lot more a lot more different kinds of emotions, the emotions that are in between, just happy or sad, right? So melancholic is definitely one word that we would think of when we hear harmonies like this. So what is a seventh chord? A seventh chord is built by stacking 3/3. And a seventh chord, like you see here on the bottom right corner, we have four notes. We have the root, and then the third, the fifth, and the seventh. And a seventh chord adds harmonic interest. It makes everything a lot more spicier and sophisticated. Seventh chords are used a lot in jazz, pop, R&Bs, and film music. They're still used to a certain degree in classical music, but definitely not as much. So well, it's cool that you're getting to learn how to build a seventh chord because it's going to be quite useful, especially if you play an instrument. All right, so first let's look at how a seventh chord's structure looks like. So a seventh chord has four notes instead of three in a triad, and it's still going to be a perfectly stacked pancakes, and we're still dealing with what's called the root position chords. So make sure that when you're doing your assignments, there's still these perfectly stacked pancakes. So you want to make sure that all of the notes are on the line or in the space. So we don't want any floating pancakes or any squished pancakes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back to my previous lecture on triads and you will see what I mean. So, like you saw in the previous slide, we have these four notes and they're named the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. And within these four notes, the bottom three still form a triad. And this top note, this extra note that we add, this is called a seventh. And it's called a seventh because it is the distance of a seventh from the root. So remember when we were dealing with intervals, we learned how to, count, right? So from C up to the B, from C up to the B is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that is why we call it a seventh. So the way we write seventh chords in these chord symbols, are going to be quite similar to triads, except that we're adding this one extra part. So imagine we're only dealing with triads, right? If we have, let's say, C, E, and G, we just have to find out what the root is. In this case, it's going to be C, and then we find out about the half steps in between those notes, and then you work out the quality and find whether it's a major chord, a minor chord, a diminished chord, or an augmented chord. So when we're dealing with seventh chords, we're still going to go through that step because the bottom three notes is still a triad, well, for the most part. And then that top note, we have to calculate the distance between that top note and the root, and we have to determine whether it's a major seventh or a minor seventh, which you already know how to do. Okay, so let's consider this example here. We have C, E, G, and B. We have these four notes. It sounds really, really beautiful. So the first part, which is a triad, C, E, G, that is a C major chord. So in this case, I could just go ahead and say, oh, that's a C major chord. But from the C to the B, that is the interval of a major seventh. So how do you know it's a major seventh? Well, remember, we had to memorize the interval chart, right? And there we memorize all of the major in perfect intervals, and that's when we also try to remember the number of half steps. So like 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and then 12. And again, if you don't remember this, please go back to the module that talks about intervals. There is this chart that I think I also asked you to take a screenshot just for your future references. So this is where that knowledge is being applied. So a major seventh would have 11 half steps. So from C to the B, if you count the number of half steps from C, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 half steps, that gives you the interval of a major seventh. So in this case, basically the first part is going to be the triad, and the second part is the distance or the interval between that bottom note, the root, and the seventh. Okay, so instead of C major 7 like this example, if we, for example, have, let's say, a B flat instead of a B natural, well, the first part is still going to be C major, but the second part is going to be from C to a B flat. So if we know that 11 half steps means it's a major 7, now we're reducing it by 1 half step. So now we have, instead of 11, we have 10. So that makes it what? That makes it a minor 7. So now we have a C major minor 7 chord. Okay, so the initial example was C, E, G, B, and now we have C, E, G, B flat. So hopefully that is clear. We'll have another kind of chord that we need to deal with, but that will come. So hopefully you're very, very clear about this part, because the next slide is going to be important. So there are 7 types of seventh chords. Well, there are definitely a lot more than these 7 types, but at least for our class, this will be enough. So remember, the first part of the chord is going to be, the bottom 3 notes, the triad, and then the distance between, or the interval between the root and the seventh chord, the seventh note. That is going to be the latter part of our chord symbol. So this very first one is what we were looking at, C major 7. And then the next one is C, E, G, B flat. It's a major and a minor 7. It's also called the dominant 7. And actually, the term dominant 7 might even be more well known than major minor 7. So remember, in this class, what we are learning is really theoretically precise, especially in the context of classical music, but not all the terms are used exactly this way in the real world, especially when you're studying or when you're playing pop music or any kind of the other, more mainstream commercial kind of music. So it's still very, very important to know all of these really precise ways to define, everything. So let's keep on looking at this. So the next one is a minor major 7. So the first part down here is a minor, right? C, E flat, G. If you work out the half steps, you will know that that's a minor chord, a C minor chord. And then from the C to the B, that's a major 7. So we have this really strange and mysterious kinds of quality, a minor major 7. And then the next one is a minor minor 7. So the triad is a C minor, and the distance between the C and the top note B flat is a minor 7. So this is a C minor minor 7. And this chord is also very, very common in a lot of pop or jazz or R&B music. So major major 7, major minor 7 or dominant 7, minor major 7, minor minor 7. All right, so these are the major versus minor. And then we also have the diminished chords, right? So for the diminished chords, in some ways, it's actually easier. Well, there are two types of diminished chords. The first one is called a half diminished 7th, which is this one. This is a half diminished 7. And how you would notate this is you will draw a little circle, and because it's half, you're going to draw this slash through the circle, and then 7. So instead of what we did in the triad, where if it's, let's say, C diminished, we have C and then a circle. Instead of that, now we're going to have C diminished but half diminished 7. Okay, so let's listen to this one. A C half diminished 7 sounds like this. All right, so this is going to be a little different from what we were talking about in terms of the bottom 3 notes are, a triad, and then we calculate the interval between the bottom note and the top. There's an easier way, which is if it's a half diminished 7, just remember the number of half steps for this kind of chord, which is 3 3 4. So from the bottom note C, go up 3 half steps, 1 2 3, we get to E flat, and then another 3, 1 2 3, and then another 4, 1 2 3 4. And that's how you get a half diminished 7. And for a fully diminished 7, which is the next example down here, it's going to be 3 3 3. So once you write down the pancakes, right? C, E, G, B. From C, you just have to count up 3, 1 2 3, that's an E flat. And then 1 2 3, that's a G flat. And from G flat, another 3, 1 2 3. Well, this time, because we have to spell it in terms of B, even though on the piano you're gonna get an A, this is still going to be a B double flat. So C, E flat, G flat, and B double flat. Well, I just noticed that there is a typo because we have to have C, E flat, and a B flat. So please make sure that you correct it on your own. C, E flat, G flat, and B double flat. So those are the two types of diminished chords. And now we have one more, which is an augmented minor 7th. So augmented is basically 4 half steps and 4 half steps, right? So from C, E to the G sharp, these are 4 half steps apart. So from C, 1 2 3 4, that gets you to E, and from E, another 4 half steps, 1 2 3 4. That gets you to an augmented chord. And then the distance between the C and the top note, B flat. That is a minor 7. That's 10 half steps. So altogether, this chord is an augmented minor 7th. So please make sure that you remember these 7 types of 7th chords. It will be extremely important for the assignments that follow this module. All right, so like I said, what we are learning in this class are the very, very precisely defined theoretical names of these chords. But out there, you will see something completely different. So instead of major, major 7th, in the real world, it's written as MAJ7 or a triangle 7. So that's, the more common way to notate these chords. So I'm just including this chart just so that, if you're trying to explore these chords on your own, on an instrument, just know that, hey, we're still learning the same exact thing. It's just written slightly differently, and you should know, both versions. So I'll just leave this up to you to explore on your own, because for this class, we're not really using the jazz notations, but the theoretical ones. So, all right, moving on. Let's look at some exercises. So first, let's find out what these 7th chords are. So the first thing I would like you to do is, of course, just to find out what the bottom 3 notes are, right? The triad. So in this case, the triad, we have C sharp, E sharp, and G sharp. So let's plot them on the piano. We have C sharp, E sharp, and G sharp. And what kind of triad does it give you? A C sharp, E sharp, and a G sharp. Well, if you work out the half steps in between, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 half steps. And then from here, 1, 2, 3. That is 3 half steps. Well, that's a major chord, right? So we have a C sharp, because that's the root, a C sharp major something. I don't know what's going to come up next. Now let's look at the C sharp and the top note. We have a B sharp, which is here. So what's the distance between the C sharp and the C? Well, you could do what I used to do, which was to count up the half steps. So from here, I just go, okay, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, 11 half steps. That's me. It's a major 7. You could do that, but there's also a smarter way. So you know that we have a C sharp and a C, and you know how we can, count the hours on a clock. Right? So on a clock, when we have, say, instead of, counting clockwise from here to here, for example, from 12 p.m. to the next day, 11, or I don't know, 11 p.m., you could, count from 12 and just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and say, okay, we have 11 hours in between these two time periods. But instead of that, you can just go 12 minus 1, which is the other direction, and then you will get to 11. So hopefully that makes sense here as well. So instead of counting up, you can count down, and then just use the number 12 and then subtract it. So from C sharp down to C, that's 1 half steps, right? So 12 minus 1 is 11. 11 means it's a major 7. So this first chord here, that's a C sharp major 7. Let's look at the next chord. We have a C, E flat, a G flat, and then B double flat. Okay, so in this case, let's first look at the bottom 3 notes. So here we have a C, E flat, and G flat. So if you plot this, C, E flat, G flat. Well, you'll find out that if you count the half steps, we have 3 half steps, 3 half steps. Oh, that means this is going to be a diminished chord. So diminished, we have a C diminished. But we don't know whether this is half diminished or fully diminished. So now you have to find, you know, the half steps between this top two notes. So between the G flat and the next note, which is B double flat, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. So essentially we have 3, 3, 3, which means this is a fully diminished seventh chord. This is a C fully diminished 7. So instead of a B double flat, if we had a B flat, that would have been a C half diminished 7. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Let's move on. The next one is G, B, D, and F. Let's plot them. G, B, D, and F. So the bottom three notes, let's see what kind of triad this is. G to B, if we count the half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from B to D, 1, 2, 3. Well, 4, 3. Again, this is a major chord. And we know that the root is G, so this is a G major chord. And what about from G to this top note, F? From G to F is going to be, let's see how many half steps. Like I said, instead of counting up, you could also just count down. So from G down to F is 1, 2. So 12 minus 2 is 10. What is 10 half steps? Remember, 11 half steps, that is a major 7. So 10 half steps, that's going to be a minor 7. So in this case, it's going to be a G major minor 7, which is also called the dominant 7, right? So now let's look at our last example here. We have an F, we have an A flat, C, and E flat. So first we're going to look at the bottom three notes, right? And find out what kind of triad this is. And now we're going to first, again, plot the notes on the piano. We have C, F, A flat, and C. Well, let's count the half steps. So if you have a piano, if you play it, if you hear this, you might already be able to tell, okay, that is a minor chord just based on how it sounds, right? So if not, it's still okay. You just have to find the number of half steps in between the notes. So from F to A flat, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 half steps. And from A flat to the next note, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 half steps. 3, 4. That is a minor chord. And the root is F. So F minor. And now we have to consider the interval between the root and the 7. So between F and E flat. Once again, I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to count from above. So from F to E flat is going to be 1, 2. F to E flat, right? So 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 means it's a minor 7. So this is going to be F minor, minor 7. Okay, so the very first chord here, major, major 7, and the next is a diminished 7. And next is a major minor 7 or a dominant 7. And then the last one is a minor, minor 7. All right, hopefully this is clear. Now we're going to do the reverse. You're given the chord symbols and we have to write the notes out. So a C sharp minor major 7 looks really scary, but trust me, it's not. So first we're going to start with C sharp, right? But before that, we definitely need the clef. So you're free to use a treble clef or a bass clef, doesn't really matter. So C sharp is going to be here, C sharp. And the very first thing you want to do is to write out all of those beautiful pancakes. Okay, that wasn't so beautiful, so we have this, C, E, G, and B. Okay, so first let's build the triad, the bottom three notes, right? We know that the root is a C sharp, so let's plot it, C sharp. If we want to build a minor chord, well, the half steps are 3 and then 4. So from C sharp, 3 half steps up, 1, 2, 3. Here's one note, and from here, another 4 steps up, half steps up, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here. Okay, how do we spell this in terms of C, E, G, B? C, E, G, B. That's very important. Okay, so we have C sharp, and next is E, and next is G sharp. We must pick G sharp instead of A flat. So we have the bottom part now, C sharp, E, G sharp. And then we need a major 7 between the C sharp and the 7. So from C sharp down here, C sharp, a major 7 up is going to be, well, I'm going to be lazy, so C sharp 1/2 step down is going to be C. Well, it's going to be the next C, right? From C sharp to the next C. So these are going to be the notes in this chord. C sharp, E, and then G sharp, and then C. This really, really mysterious sounding chord. That's a C sharp minor major 7. Well, we have one thing left. Even though I plotted C on the keyboard, on the piano, we can't really use C because we are required to use B, or we have to spell it in terms of B. So a C is equivalent to a B sharp. So in this case, we have a C sharp, we have E, we have G sharp, and B sharp. So that's how we build a minor major 7. Now let's continue to the next one. And again, if you want to try this on your own, you can pause the video and only just, use it to check your answers afterwards. So I would highly encourage you to do so, but if you want to just follow along, that's also okay. So the next one is a D flat minor minor 7. So first we have to, of course, start with a D flat note. D flat. And then write your pancakes. Good. Now what we have to do is to first figure out the bottom, the triad. So we have the D flat, and then if we want to build a minor chord, we know that the number of half steps is going to be 3, 4. So from D flat up 3 half steps is going to be 1, 2, 3 here. And then from here, another 4 half steps is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 here. All right, so let's spell this in terms of the notes that we are allowed to use. We have D, F, A, C. So the first one is already written, D flat. Well, we have F. We can write it in terms of E. So this is going to be F flat. And then the next one is going to be A flat. Now, we have still the last note, so that is going to be the distance between the root and the 7th. So a minor 7th means we want 10 half steps. So you can count up 10 half steps or count down 2 half steps. I'm going to do the latter because it's easier. So from D flat, if we count down 2 half steps, 1 from here, 1, 2, we have a B. So let's just plot that note an octave higher, which is up here. So can we say it's D flat and F flat, A flat, and B? No, because we have to spell it in terms of a C. So what is B equivalent to? So it's going to be a C flat. Right? So here we have a D flat, F flat, A flat, and C flat. And that is a D flat minor minor 7 chord. All right, moving on. This time we have A flat augmented in minor 7. So augmented means that, well, before we get there, let's first do our first step, which is to write down the notes. So we have an A flat, and then pancakes, pancakes, pancakes. From here, first we have to, I think we can plot the notes first. So from A flat, well, let's just plot the root, kind of trying to follow what I always do, but I feel like sometimes I also want to skip steps. But let's not do that. So, okay, from A flat to C to the next note, it has to be 4 half steps. 4 half steps, right? So from A flat, 4 half steps up is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be here. And then another 4 half steps up, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be here. And then we can just, figure out the seventh at the same time. If we were looking for a minor seventh, that's going to be 10 half steps up from the root, or 2 half steps down and then just raise it an octave up. So I'm going to do, counting down 2 half steps. So from A flat, counting down 2 half steps is going to give you F sharp or G flat. And then I will just raise it up. So it's going to be here. So we have A flat, and next one, this, and then this, and this. That is an augmented minor seventh. Now let's spell it correctly. We have A flat, and the next one, we can use C, so we have already written it down. And the next one is E. And this last note here, do we use F sharp or G flat? Well, we are required to use G, so this time it's going to be a G flat. So we have A flat, C, E, G flat. Very good. Now, let's look at our very last example. We have a B diminished 7. Well, if you see a circle, that means it's fully diminished. So if you see this, just go and write down 3 through 3, because that's the number of half steps in between these notes. So once again, we'll start with pancakes. We can write the B here. That's not the best B. So from here, B, D, F, and A. So now we can go and start plotting the root on the piano. From B, 3 half steps up. 1, 2, 3 is going to be this note. And from there, another 3 half steps up. I think you can, just kind of tap on the keyboard yourself. So I'm just going to skip using the yellow color. So from D, 3 half steps up is going to be 1, 2, 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3 here. So what you have, oh wait, actually, I think I made a mistake. Let me try it again. So from the root, this is B. 1, 2, 3 is going to give you this D, and then 1, 2, 3 is going to be here, and then 1, 2, 3 is going to be up here. That is a fully diminished 7th chord with the root B. So B, D, and F are natural, so we don't have to add any accidentals. But the last one is either an A flat or G sharp. And in this case, we want to use an A flat because we're required to use that. So now we have B, D, F, A flat. And that is a B fully diminished 7. So once again, C sharp minor major 7 is going to be, and D flat minor minor 7 is going to be, and A flat augmented minor 7 is going to be this. And then a B fully diminished 7. All right, so hopefully this is going to be helpful for your assignments. Just know that with the 7th chords, first you want to determine what the bottom 3 notes are as a triad, whether it's a major, minor, diminished, or augmented. And then you figure out the next part based on the distance between the root and the 7th note. So for diminished chords though, once you know that it is diminished, just know that there are only 2 options. It's either 3-3-3 or 3-3-4. But for the rest, you first work out the triads and then you figure out, whether it's a major 7 or a minor 7. All right, so if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Take care.